Do you need to purchase the 400mm f4.5, or will the 70-200 with the 2x teleconverter be good enough for your image quality? We'll see right now. Stay tuned. What's up guys, Snyderman here with the Casual Photoholic, and today I'm here at one of my favorite locations down at Huntington Beach State Park in beautiful South Carolina, and I'm going to be testing out the 70-200 Z mount f2.8 with the 2x teleconverter on the Nikon Z9. Down here to try and get some test images to see if shooting with the 2x teleconverter and getting it at constant 5.6 aperture, if it's worth the sacrifice with the loss of light, and are the images going to be acceptable for your purposes. We can pixel peep all we want, but it really boils down to preference and price range and budget. All of that's taken into consideration, so it really comes down to, are the images going to be acceptable for your purposes as far as photography goes. So the main reason I'm wanting to test this lens out today is because I've got the Nikon Z400 f4.5 that was just released, and I've got it on the way. Unfortunately, I could have had it 2 weeks ago, but one of the major camera retailers has taken my MPS priority delivery and sent it to someone else. That will be in another video as soon as I get an update today on that delivery. So until then, if you have a 70-200, are your images going to be good enough that you should look at investing in the 400, or do you stick with the 70-200 and the 2x converter if that's what you have? So let's go ahead and head on down and get some test images and see how it goes. Well guys, here we are. We're on the straight road, as the locals would call it, Alligator Alley. And throughout the trek through here, you're probably going to see plenty of these signs, which is probably a good indication that there are alligators that live here. And I can tell you right now, if you do come on a walk here, you're going to see plenty of them. Right behind me here is going to be the main dragway where the alligators throughout the day are going back and forth from one pond to the other. And sometimes they're walking across the pathway here, the sidewalk, and they can come within feet of you. Sometimes they'll come right out of the brush and come across and won't pay you any attention and walk right past you, probably scare the living daylights out of you. But throughout the day, you're going to see them cross back and forth through here. So let's go down here and see what kind of wildlife we can get into, and hopefully we don't get bit. Okay, here we are guys in the line of fire, right where the alligators seem to cross, and it looks like I've already came up on my first bit of wildlife. I've got a cormorant that's sitting over here on a branch, got a little bit of sun on it. I've also got a green heron that's over here in the shade. So right now we're going to take and we're going to see how well this is going to perform with the bird that's in the light as well as the one that's in the shade. So now on this setup, I'm going to be using my typical wildlife and all around walk around settings, which is going to be an auto ISO because of the change in light. I'd like to typically make sure that I have that set to adjust in case I'm in the shade or if I'm in the main light. And I'm going to be using the minimum aperture, which is going to be the 5.6, which is going to be the closest I can do as far as the comparison to the 400mm. And I like to keep my shutter speed around 2000, that way that I'm able to freeze the action and not get as much motion blur. So let's take pictures of these cormorants and let's see how they come out. Okay, so here we are at the little clearing spot on Mallard Pond, and hey, there's another sign. You guess there's alligators that live here. They're everywhere. Seen quite a few of them today. So I came here because I was kind of hoping to get some birds in flight, so I could show you guys some of the action shots as far as the 70 to 200 with the converter goes. Not a lot moving around today. I think it's one of those HAF days. H standing for hot. Now I know this is a photography video, but the AF does not stand for autofocus. Just use your imagination. Trying to keep it as G-rated as possible as I can, but yeah, it's super hot today, and I don't know how much longer I'm gonna stay out here, but I may head over to the straight road coming in at the causeway, see if I can't get some birds in flight for you. If not, I might just go home and get some. But the only problem is there's no shade over there for me to stand under, so it could get quite hot over there. So we'll wait a few more minutes around here, see if I can't find something that's moving around out here that I can get a shot of. If not, we'll check the causeway on the way out, and then if not, I'll go back home and grab something in the backyard and have that for comparison, and then we'll go into Lightroom and take a look at some of the quality and do some pixel peeping and see what you guys think. So stay tuned. Yeah, it's too hot out there. So we're back in the car in the AC. On a lighter note, there is some rumbles of thunder. And you know what they say, when the thunder roars, go indoors. Unless you do photography. And then we change our setup, check the radar, and go shoot some weather photography. See what kind of clouds, see if there's any lightning. So we may have to do that on the way home. And might get 2 videos today, so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to regroup and see what the radar looks like, and then we'll go from there. If not, then we'll see you in Lightroom on the back end, so we can go check out some of these images of the 70 to 200 2.8 Z mount on the Nikon Z9 with the 2x teleconverter. So these shots were shot, you know, anywhere from 140 to 400 at auto ISO. So we'll see how it did in the light and how it performed in the shadows and in the shade. I've got a couple of different shots and angles while I was out there, but yeah, it's just too hot. HAF, like I say. Anyhow, so we'll either catch you next to the clouds and the lightning, or we'll catch you back in Lightroom. We'll see what happens. The weather will be in a new video. Check it out. Okay guys, so the storm was a bust, and here we are back in Lightroom. So let's dive right in and check out these photos that we were able to capture with the 70 to 200 and the 2x converter. All of these are going to be shot at 400 millimeters. The ISO will fluctuate depending on whether we're in the light or whether we're in the shadows. So on the first frame here, we have an Ahinga, which I had identified as a cormorant in the commentary, and that was wrong, and that was my bad. I apologize. But anyhow, auto ISO had us at 250 here in the light, so everything was pretty good as far as lighting went. You can see it was tack sharp focus, and the noise in there is virtually non-existent at this quality and from this distance. You're not going to see any of the noise in that frame. This next one here's the green heron. So the green heron was in the shade some, so the ISO on that one did jump up to 1800 in order to get the shadows. But still, even at 1800 ISO, even in the shadows here, the noise is still very minimal. So focus was on. I think with a little bit of third-party denoise software, you might be able to lightly clean that up and be pretty acceptable. I did say we would see plenty of gators, and here's an example. This one here was sitting probably, I don't know, 25 yards away maybe. Looked like he might have just got done eating a bird because of the feather here. Either that or there was something else going on in the water. Anyhow, 1000 ISO on that one and virtually no noise, and image was pretty tack sharp at that distance. So let's go on to the next one. This next one, okay, so this was a, I believe it was a juvenile yellow crown night heron. It was down on the shoreline, probably about maybe 15, 20 feet away. Down there grazing on some stuff on the shoreline. This one here was at 8000 ISO because he was in the shade. So even at 8000 ISO, the noise still very minimal. Not a lot of noise in there. I mean, you can't even tell unless you're zooming in, pixel peeping. He was grazing on a crab. And here's a shot with the crab in his mouth. This one here, it jumped up to auto ISO was at 10,000. So here he was munching the crab, nailed the focus, noise very minimal. And down the hatch. That's lunch, guys, right there. That's how they eat. That's how they roll down there. On to the next one. So, okay, so I think this is where the 70 to 200 with the 2x converter is going to shine, I believe, over the 400 because of the minimal focus distance. This here was shot probably at 3.5, 4 feet, which is about the minimal focus distance when you're shooting at 400 millimeters. But this dragonfly here on this branch, tight crop on that, you could pass as macro. I mean, detail is phenomenal. Noise is pretty much non-existent. Minimal focus distance on the 400, I believe, is probably around 8 feet, 8.21, I believe. Pretty far off as far as the focal distance goes for minimal focus. But anyhow, let's check out this next one. So I did promise some birds in flight. This was when I got home. Had some ospreys flying. This one here was almost directly overhead, flying up pretty high. But focus on that, I think might have been a tad bit off, but we'll accept that one and move on. Okay, so here was another one with the osprey flying in. This here, he had him probably about, I don't know, 50 yards away, coming down across the lake. And look at that, nailed the focus. ISO was at 560. Very minimal noise. Super acceptable. Once again, here it was coming overhead. Full frame on that one is looking like that. Virtually no noise and tack sharp focus, guys. Straight out of camera. This is straight out of camera. We're not going to do any editing in this tutorial. It's going to take too long. So, and here was the last one I had with it flying overhead. But if you check that out, still minimal noise, actually virtually none, and tack sharp focus. So, okay, so drop in the comments what you think of the 70 to 200 and the 2x converter, and let me know, will you be purchasing the 400 f4.5 if you can get your hands on it. I will be doing a tutorial, actually an unboxing on the 400 4.5 very shortly. Should have one in my hands within the day. So anyhow, drop me a comment below, let me know what you think, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, so that way you're able to catch all the content that I put out and coming up. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.